Hello, everybody. I'm Roadblock. We are on the free-to-play account. So I do want to talk about something that's kind of, I don't know about a serious issue or anything like that. But there was an active discussion today in my Discord that I was kind of reading while I was at work, and I saw kind of some people talking about Wixell and being afraid of Wixell potentially getting nerfed and investing a lot of time and energy in this champion that might eventually get a nerf. So I really wanted to address that. First and foremost, I heard no official word of any nerf coming to Wixell. Okay, so let's just get that right out the way. Any content that I've seen out there has mostly been theorizing that they might nerf somebody, but there's no concrete statement or otherwise that says, "Hey, we're going to nerf Wixell." So for the time being, I would not worry about that. Number one. Number two, if they were to nerf Wixell, which again, there's no information that they would, but if they were, I suspect they would probably just change it so Clan Boss can ignore shields at 50 turns, just like he already does for unkillable teams. So I wanted to bring this up. So I wanted to, because I don't think that if they did that nerf, I don't think that it would be a bad nerf. I don't think that it would kill the team. Um, and I kind of want to talk about why. So this is my unkillable team. I've done a few videos on it. I'll go ahead and... Did I use gems on normal? Yeah, I did. Okay. So this is... I'll show you right here. This is my unkillable team, right? So you'll notice it's 3 epics, a rare, and a legendary. Which, by the way, a version of this team exists with an epic as the lead, which is Deacon. So when I started my free-to-play account, we're on my free-to-play account. This is my daily episode. We're going to talk about this and then go into the account. But when we're talking about my account, one of the reasons that I did start with Deacon as my epic is because I knew that he was part of an unkillable team. That raised his value for me. I knew that he could be my lead for a potential Demitha unkillable team. Now, to make that happen, I have to get a Demitha. Right now, I have all the pieces to make an unkillable team except the Demitha. I have Deacon, right? I have Eris, who's farmable. You can get her in campaign, very easy, right? I don't have Seeker, but I do have Doom Screech, and there are versions of these teams that work with a Doom Screech right here. So I would just need the Demitha, and then I would need a DPS. Now, usually you want to use a Force DPS for this comp because you don't want Eris to take the stun. So you would bring another Force champion to mitigate that. That's why on the main account, I don't need to do that because I have Fushan as my speed lead, which this lowers the speed requirement a little bit, but also lowers the damage requirement because I do have Fushan who can hit quite hard. But he's not optimized. None of these champions are optimized beyond what I did when I first built them. I've never messed with the team. A quick kind of recap on the team, and I'll explain what this has to do with Wixell in a second. But a quick recap on the team. Eris is in toxic gear. I am still able to hit her speed of 261. But I have her in a toxic set. So she actually does my second most damage. Fushan. Yeah, here he is. Mismatch gear. 189 speed. 105 crit rate. Only 196% crit damage. Only almost just under 6,000 attack. There are way better Fushan builds out there than what he's currently at. Let's see. Demitha. Nothing too special, just 2 perception and a speed set. Now, her speeds are really high, 290, so she's not crit rate or crit damage. Seeker is built pretty decent, but again, look, only 5-star gauntlets that are crit rate. We've got a chest piece, a 5-star chest piece, 5-star weapon, 5-star shield, 5-star boots even. Like, this is not my best gear on this team, and only 183 speed. That's what's needed for the speed tune. He does have a little bit more crit damage than some others, but again, crit rate gloves, right? Like, these champions are not built anything crazy, and I'm able to put up about 100 million per key. Maybe less on Spirit Affinity, but it is still works on Spirit Affinity. Not 100% on Spirit Affinity. I do have to be honest. Part of that has to do basically with Eris taking the stun every now and then, but that's I can live with that. Because I have 4 keys. If I have to use 2 keys, fine. You know, it's a probably, I'd say, like a 90% effective team. And actually, it's probably much lower on Spirit Affinity, but it passes all the other affinities. I'm fine. I don't need to tweak it. You know, I'm not worried about it on this account, right? But why am I mentioning this? Well, when I first built this team, I struggled. It was a 2-key team because I couldn't hit the maximum damage. I struggled to hit the damage. Over time, I worked and I built the team up, and I was able to achieve the damage goals that I set out to achieve, which is 100 million. I would have kept working on it until my clan, which is, you know, pretty decent clan, we kill Ultra Nightmare, and Brutal. So I don't need to make my team any better. Like, you'll see it 2-keyed at 137. On regular Nightmare, we did 108. My first key failed today. That's why I was mentioning it. But still, you'll see 1 key, 108 million on Nightmare. I'm fine with that. Very happy with that. And then Ultra Nightmare, my second key did 80 million, which was all 50 turns. The first key ended at like 20-something turns. It failed. Like I said, it is what it is. I'm not super worried about that. But the point is that when I first built the team, I had to hit the speeds first. That's priority number 1. I hit the speeds, had no damage. Then I started working on the damage. I started putting in pieces like, okay, hey, this is the same. This has the same speed, or maybe 1 or 2 less speed, but this other one had more, you know, and I was able to move pieces around to keep the tune going, but to get the damage that I needed out of the champions. So once I did that, it was set, right? Let's talk about Wixell. So one of the arguments, and I understand the argument, is that, you know, these teams are going to 1,500 turns, and they're only doing 200-300 million or whatever. Well, a couple of things on that. When you're talking the turn limit is 1,500 total turns. And so that means our turns too. So it's not 1,500 clan boss turns. You can't take more than 1,500 turns. So each time our side gets a turn, that's 5 champions that are taking turns, theoretically, if they're on a 1-to-1 ratio, which they're usually greater than, right? So that's an important distinction when you're discussing the turn limit. I don't want you guys to think that like 1,500 divided by 300 million is how much it does per turn, because it wouldn't be accurate, right? It's more about how many clan boss turns is an accurate way to measure how much they do per turn of the clan boss. It's a good metric to measure by, right? Like, my clan boss team is 50 clan boss turns, so 50 turns for the clan boss to take, and my team does 100 million damage roughly, right? So then you can divvy up and say, okay, they do X amount to 2 million per turn. Okay, easy enough. Now, if you don't know why my unkillable team dies at 50 turns, because at 50 turns, clan boss ignores unkillable and block damage. Right now, shields do not have that same effect. This is what makes Wixell an infinity team, because Wixell can perpetually increase and keep the shields going on his team for seemingly forever, and Clan Boss never gets strong enough to break through those shields. Because Clan Boss gets stronger as the fight goes on, but he never gets strong enough to break through those shields because the value of the shield is so astronomically high. Okay? If they were to nerf him, I suspect they might say, okay, hey, now Clan Boss can ignore shields at 50 turns too. So he would ignore block damage, he would ignore unkillable, and then he could ignore shields. I'm not saying that they are doing that. I'm not saying that they will do that. It's highly likely they don't even touch this. But I wanted to put your minds at ease if you did get Wixell and you're debating if you want to invest the books, invest the time, only for them to nerf him and make him completely unusable in a month from now. I don't think that he would become unusable. But I do think that if they nerfed him to be if they made Clan Boss ignore shields after 50 turns, if they went that route, that he would still be very viable for an unkillable team. You would still be able to hit 50 turns in the exact same way that my unkillable team hits 50 turns. You would just be doing it with shields instead of block damage, which is how it works with the Mytha. I suspect you're going to need to build the champions in a much stricter way. You may have to find a way to balance high speeds as well as higher damage output. And certain buff extension champions may provide more value than others. For example, we're looking at this Wixell team right here. Now, Aqua Sprite did 219 million with one key. His 3 buff extenders, we've got Wixell, which is always one of your 3. Demitha is the other one. And then Lady Mikage. This likely went for 1,500 turns, right? Not Clan Boss turns. Again, important distinction. But Lady Mikage brings a ton to make this a really viable team, because Lady Mikage does buff extension, but also does crit rate and crit damage, I think, off the top of my head. That's going to really help with teams. Anchorite is one that I want to use. I think in the same way, he's providing a ton of value because he also brings... increase crit damage and increase attack. For Anchorite, which is really a compelling champion for this, he actually brings crit rate and crit damage, which means that you could build everyone on your Clan Boss team, if you're using Anchorite, to only 70% crit rate and do the rest in crit damage, or increasing their base stat, whether it's attack, defense, or HP, because you only, hitting 70% crit rate is very easy. We're already talking, we're here talking about my Clan Boss team, and I said that I have this Seeker in crit rate gloves. Well, just imagine if I could put him in crit damage gloves. And he has 50% crit rate. If I took these off of him, and only had to get to 70%, I would only need to find 20% more crit rate somewhere. And there's, several pieces in this build, one piece in this build that has 0 crit rate, and some that don't even have any rolls into crit rate. Yeah. So it's not going to be the easiest, but it's certainly doable in those kinds of situations. So like I said, I just want to put your guys' minds at ease. First of all, I don't think it's going to happen, but I've been wrong before, and I certainly can be wrong about this now. But what I do think is that if they were to nerf him, I don't think it's going to be as detrimental to clan boss teams that are using this guy. And look, he's useful everywhere. You've got Yannicka teams. You've got all kinds of different concepts for Wixell that can be used. When I say Yannicka, there's a team out there where Wixell builds a really, really, really big shield. You let the Hydra steal it. You let the Hydra spread it. And then Yannicka blows them all up and does millions, if not billions, of damage. That team exists. I believe they're working to correct that team, but I don't think that they're going to nerf him into oblivion. Time will tell, but I hope whatever nerf they do, he can still go 50 turns. If they can keep it to where he can go 50 turns, 50 clan boss turns, I fully expect him to be an essential part of future clan boss teams, using shields instead of block damage, basically. Like that's kind of how I would say that you build that team. So I plan to build it. So we have a long adventure ahead of us, but you know, if I was panicked about it, I'd be building Wixell like crazy, but unfortunately I don't have books for him, so I'm not in a real hurry to build him or any other legendary on my account right now. And so let's oh sorry, I showed you the book account for the main account. The free to play isn't much better. Yep, same. One book. All right, so enough about that little rant there, and I know you guys love those, but let me know in the comments what your thoughts are. I truly believe that that Wixell, if he was to get nerfed for Clan Boss, will be fine. End of story. That's the bottom line. Now, enough about that. Let's move on to the free-to-play account and kind of talk stuff. I haven't been playing much. I've been doing my dailies, or using my resources, right? So, Cursed City, I'm done, but I'm doing my Doom Tower runs. The reason that I haven't been doing, because there was a great suggestion for me to go push hard and get up to a farmable version of likely Dark Fae, who is the champion I would be farming during this particular rotation. The only reason I haven't been doing it is I don't have time right now. Just for right now. I think when June hits and I have more free time and I can stream it with you guys, I will progress through hard up to Dark Fae and then try to come up with a team that can farm her on a regular basis. Now, if we look at my team on the main account, I have a really good team that can farm Dark Fae now. I don't have all of these champions on the main account, and I would certainly struggle in some areas, but I do have the nukes. I would have to come up... Well, I could use Yukaro probably as my nuker instead of Baron, so that would be fine. I just would have to use, as a speed lead, probably Ursula, which would be interesting. But this is the team. Baron for clear, Newts for boss, and you'll kind of see. But why is Dark Fae so important to farm? Well, she gives you the resources for the lethal set, which is probably the best... Well, okay, I don't want to say best PvP set in the game, but for your nukers, it's one of the top sets because you get to do a bunch of damage and you lower that crit rate requirement, which we just talked about how valuable that can be. And you get to ignore the same amount of defense as you do with the Savage set. So I think. Sometimes I hate when I say stuff like this, and like I have to have that moment of like, wait, I am right about that, right? Like, because I'm not as confident, but because this is why if I had more time to think before I recorded, it would be much better. Oh, hey, look, reset. All right, lethal. Am I blind? Oh, this is a free to play. I don't have lethal on this. So I won't be able to tell you. I'm pretty sure they're the same amount of ignore defense, but you get extra crit rate. All right, so here's the team. Basically, Armand's makes Dark Fae much easier. Not only does Armand's crowd control the copies that she makes, but he also gets occasionally turn meter on the boss, which he just got resisted there. I don't know if that was a one of the 3% or 6%, whatever it is, or not, but we basically just keep her crowd controlled between the two Newts, Lady Kimmy, and Armands. That's 4 champions that are crowd controlling her. We just keep her turn meter down as best we can. You'll see, there we go. Because she does reduce turn meter effects by 50%. So she'll get a turn here in a second. Yeah, definitely she's about to go. But we just let our Newts do the thing. Cold Heart would be a good option here. Cold Heart was in my old team, but I recently changed my team up to make it 100% because the old team was not 100%. This one is. And you can see pretty easy. One of the hardest, and it may still be a problem when I hit the higher difficulties, but one of the problems in the past has been I couldn't hit the speed requirement. So I had to bring Arbiter because she was my fastest champion, and then she would speed everyone else up. But that became a problem because if I don't kill their Arbiter, then their Arbiter outspeeds me, and eventually I figured it out, and I got it somewhat consistent, but it wasn't a full auto. I had to manual one part of the fight and just make sure that Arbiter died first. That was the only thing. But with Armand's, completely changed that because he completely crowd controls them immediately, and the Armand's on this account is quite fast at not anything crazy, only 266, but I think he'll probably be somewhere fast enough to handle the higher difficulty of her, which is where I would prefer to farm. I'm going to work on that team once I get there. That's not what this video is about. But that is where I would like to be farming on Doom Tower. I don't farm Doom Tower bosses on this account pretty much at all. There's definitely some good gear in there that I just don't go for. I've never really gone for it on even my main account. I should be farming Celestial Griffin, but the problem is I don't really have a good Celestial Griffin team. I kind of have to manual it in order to squeak by the higher difficulties of Celestial Griffin, so I don't really want to do that multiple times to farm gear. Eventually, I will build teams that can farm those champions consistently, but I suspect with the introduction of Wixell, my need for Guardian gear is going to go down quite a bit, because that's the type of gear that will really make my current killable team stronger, but not really in need for that. Okay, so that is a plan for the future to get her to get farmed up to Dark Fae and hopefully set up a farm team for that rotation with Armands. I think Armands is going to make that a very easy fight, especially since I have a Newt, I have a Cold Heart, even though she's only 50, and I have a Allure. Yeah, I remembered it right before I saw her. Yeah. So I will have some turn meter control, a large amount of turn meter control, especially with Armands in there. And I can probably get away with really not needing anybody else. I might bring Deacon for a speed lead, or I can bring Ursula for a speed lead because her aura is in Doom Tower by 24%. Now, she doesn't give any turn meter to my team, but she also brings increased attack and decreased attack, as well as some increased defense and strengthen. And I think she's actually built... Yeah, she's built for damage right now, too, which is kind of interesting. Not really having... I'm not expecting big numbers out of her, but she does quite a bit of damage. So the only thing to be careful about, if you're doing Dark Fae, don't bring Sun Wukong. He will... The copy of him will also keep reviving, and it sucks, and it's annoying. And I made that mistake on my main account. Or no, this account? No, yeah, I made that mistake in Cursed City going against her. Because he, on this account, actually, I think it was. So, All right. Let's get to the last thing. I told you guys yesterday I was going to pull shards today on the main account, and I was going to include information or include that in this video. I don't know why I said information. I was going to include the shard pull in this video, even though it's not part of the free-to-play account. It's only 2 shards. I don't see the purpose in making a full a full shard opening video for these 2 shards, but I do want to open them and potentially go for Fina. As you saw on the free-to-play, I didn't get any other sacreds, so I won't be able to pull for Fina on that account. One question that I did not see anybody say, but I had, when I realized, like, after the video, I was like, oh, I should explain why I would go for all 4 of them on the free-to-play, but only go for Fina on the main account. It's just a matter of focus. It's also a matter of those champions and what they do on my main account is far above anything I can do on what those champions can do on the free-to-play is far above what I can do on the main account. On the main account, I don't know that some of these faction unity champions make the cut on some of my current teams. In the free-to-play, they will definitely make the cut because they are that good, and I can build entire teams around them rather than trying to fit them in teams that I already have that are hugely successful on this account, if that makes sense. So, but why I like Fina on the main account is because she would be very good for my Hydra team. We talked about her kit yesterday, so I'm not going to go over it too much, but a lot of turn meter, a lot of buffs, as well as protected buffs, which are really good. And then obviously we have auras, like a speed aura, which is really good. Yeah, I really, really like this champion. I did not like her at first, but I am very interested now. So I don't think my Mercy tracker is correct. It's telling me I have a pretty... I remember we talked about this last video, and I just wasn't sure. I feel like I've pulled more than it's telling me. I'm at 18 according to this, but hey, we'll find out. Here we go. 2 shards. Let's go, and we'll get this video over with, okay? Here we go. Let's go. Who did we get? Are you serious? Dude. Why? What in that? Like, why? That is ridiculous to me. All the work I put into this fusion just to pull him. I'm so at a loss for words. I really am. I cannot believe that like, do 2 of them even work together? That might get some pretty big shields built up pretty quickly if you got 2 Wixwells. I just don't know that I was going to use them in the first place. That's kind of why I'm shocked, because I wasn't really planning on using them in the first place. Alright, well, I kind of don't want to pull this now that I hit my legendary, but we'll pull again and see what happens. Maybe someone will feel sorry for me and no, they're just going to give me an epic, and not really even one that I'm like... Not really. Ugo is the only epic I want right now, which would be a duplicate. But oh, I forgot. Oh, empowering. That's not even what I want to empower though. Wow, what a video! Oh man. Okay, well, we're going to call it. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for all of the support. Truly, truly. If you like my content, please consider subscribing. It's a really good way to help my channel right now. And I got to be honest, I kind of had a when you I don't know how much I want to share about this, but it's who I am, and I'm starting to realize like the more I am myself on here, the better. But I looked at I check on my YouTube Studio app, I check and see what's going on my channel, and it's like it was really funny because it had like 1073, and then I refreshed it and it went to 1070, and I was like, what did I do to just lose 3 subscribers just like that? And so it was just one of those. It was really funny. I'm not like freaking out or anything about it, but it was one of those funny moments where I was just like, and it's because of the way the app is. It doesn't update constantly, so I hadn't looked at it in a day, and so for whatever reason. But yeah. So if you like my content and you want to support it, the best way would be to subscribe, and help me make up those 3 that I somehow lost. All right. Well, hey, thanks guys. I'll see you all in the next video. Have a good one.